think we all need a mindset shift. Mindset shift. That's the tongue twister. You're inside the Mom Stuff Coffee Shop, a podcast dedicated to helping you get back up again in parenting, business, and overall life. I am your host, KK Smith. It is my joy to help you turn your pain into power and your trauma into triumph. Friends, today I am kicking off season 2 with a mindset shift. Yes, that's a tongue twister. But I wanted to get in 2021 by telling you something that I have learned along the way. And I also wanted to introduce to you a new show concept, which is something to sip on. So as you know, in our shows, in our guest shows, I do something to sip on at the end. And these shows will also give you so much food for your soul and fuel for your life. So, friends, we all have shifted our minds from the pandemic to social unrest, politics, new learning curves, online learning, the kids being home all the time. And some kids haven't even gone back to school since the pandemic. So I think we all have had mindset shifts. But what about the intentional mindset shifts? So today we're going to talk about the mindset shift for 2021. How do you grow? How do you get to those goals? How do you reach those dreams with a mindset shift? So I wanted to tell you that I absolutely love to read. And I also love quotes. That's a fun fact about me. And one year I was taking my daughter to her open house and I saw one of my favorite quotes and I want to share it with you. And it comes from a geologist, Charles Darwin. And if any of you have studied psychology, you know who Charles Darwin is. And this is the quote. "It is not the strongest of the species that survive, not the most intelligent, but the ones most responsive to change." And friends, this means it's not how smart we are. It's not how we could lift 500 pounds, but it is our ability to adapt to change. And that's why I wanted to kick season 2 off with a mindset shift. So let's get started. This quote reminds me so much of the toils of life. And so much of life is in our minds, resisting what is, resisting the present moment. Life is going by, life is happening, and all of a sudden, something happens that we must make a mindset shift. Whether it's a loss of a job, a loss of a loved one, a loss of a relationship, we must make a mindset shift. That situation has the ability, friends, to knock the wind out of us. It has the ability to knock us on the ground. Now, if anyone has been living long enough, and that could be boy, girl, woman, or child who has gone through a traumatic experience that has knocked the wind out of you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But as Charles Darwin studied, the survival of the fittest is the one who can adapt to change. Now, sometimes that's not quickly, but we need to adapt a mindset shift in every area of our lives. For me, this means constantly throwing away old ideas, narratives, wrong thinking, suggestive thinking, social thinking, and conforming thinking. So what is suggested thinking? Suggested thinking might be coming from someone else. I don't like that color on you. Your head is just too big for that style. I don't like her. You shouldn't like her either. Suggested thinking. Another mindset is social thinking. You might not even like what it is. The purse, the jacket, the shoes, the car. But because it is socially suggested, we go into a social mindset. A mindset shift needs to happen. A conforming thinking. Some of us have had this. So you laugh at the joke. So you pick up your own judgments and biases because of your environment, because of your workplace, because of your promotion. This is a conforming mindset. So friends, I think we all have a mindset shift in the making, and there are so many more mindsets, but these are the ones that I thought about for this show. So how did we get here? How in the world did we get in a space of all these social influences, all of this suggested thinking, and more importantly, all of the thinking that keeps us small, limited, and broken down on the inside. So here are a couple of things that I thought about. The prototypes from our family, the blueprints when we were little, the blueprints when we were children, the limited ways that we have been pushed down, pushed back, overlooked, and we begin to conform to that box. Whatever that box is for you, we just fit ourselves in it. Another place that mindset can come from is definitely our neighborhoods. Where did we grow up? What environments were we in? What was the social norm? What was the things that we lived up to because they were normalized in our neighborhoods? Definitely another mindset could come from friendships. Friendships, the people that we love, the people we admire. And we have suggested thinking. We begin to believe the things that we get in conversations about. We begin to believe the things that our loving friend tells us. We could be picking up the wrong set of ideas and calling them our own. A mindset shift. Now, definitely another place that I've seen this happen is in our close relationships with our boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, partner, special friend. You know, sometimes we're so enthralled with these relationships that we begin to pick up their mindsets. I've seen people in relationships, and years later when I've seen them, they totally think the way the other person thought. They didn't think that way before, but because that relationship was so close and they trusted this person's ideas, they began to think exactly like this person, even if it was judgmental or biased. Another place that we can get a wrong mindset is through gatherings. Sometimes we're going to conferences and we're going to places that we absolutely love. Oh my goodness. But friends, we could be getting the wrong message and we begin to pick it up and walk down the road and pretend that it was our own suggestion. I'll give you an example. One time I went to a conference and I absolutely loved the speaker. I will not mention who the speaker was. I followed this speaker for many years and I absolutely loved the speaker. Well, someone in their camp got on stage and began to talk against something that was very special in my life. And they talked about it as if they hated it. Now, this is a conference and I'm looking at this person like, oh my, have I been following the wrong agenda? And because sometimes, friends, we develop an admiration for a particular person, for a particular speaker, and sometimes we absolutely love to attend a specific event, we become vulnerable if we are not guarded with our mindsets. We begin to become influenced by the power of influence. Now, the next mindset influence, friends, I really didn't want to talk about, but it is a part of this show. It's a part of Mindset Shift. It's actually an up-close personal look at something that happened in my childhood. And it is guarding our relationships with God and guarding our faith from different agendas and different types of propaganda. Because friends, I can remember when I was a little girl and I can remember my mom sending in her money for this prayer cloth. Well, in my young eyes, I was probably about 10 years old. And I would watch my mom and her sisters repeatedly watch this pastor on TV. And they would send in their money and they would get a cloth and maybe some oil. But at my tender age, I could literally see all the way through that. Now, I'm not saying that you don't go and get your prayer cloth and your oil. And I'm not saying that preachers are not authentic, because I believe people for who they are until they show me something different. But at that young age, I could really see through a lot of propaganda. And I don't know how I saw this, but years later, there was an explosion of scandal around the thing that I observed when I was a young girl. And it was so devastating because my mom had poured so much into that ministry. And so at the time I had grown up and I just thought about my mom and I thought how devastating that might have been for her. I read about it and I could remember my mom sending in her money, and sometimes it would be so sacrificial. So what I'm telling you is we have to always watch as well as pray. My faith comes first. My faith rules my entire life. But over the years, God has prepared me in such a way to always be mindful and really watch the agendas. Really pay attention to what is the Holy Spirit trying to tell me here. And that experience came to me from a very, very young child, seeing my mom being taken advantage of. So we really have to watch what we absolutely love, because what we absolutely love has sort of an intoxicating, finessing spirit to really shift our mindset towards whatever that propaganda is. And for me, friends, as far as church is concerned and my connections with different churches, I've been blessed to see some awesome speakers, men and women. And not every church is filled with scandal, propaganda, or hidden agendas. But I've learned to be mindful. So pay attention. Be on high alert. That's what the Bible says. For the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And friends, literally, if we don't shift our minds, that is destruction waiting to happen. So let's get into the 5 ways that I want to tell you how you can start shifting your mind in 2021. Friends, this is going to be a great year for you. So grab your pen and your coffee and let's get started. So the first way is to challenge your thoughts. Friends, sometimes 20,000, 50,000 thoughts pops in our minds every single day. Sometimes we think, okay, I'll go with that. Sometimes we can reject it. But sometimes, because of the things that have been planted, just like a seed inside of us, we receive those wrong mindsets. So when the thought comes up, I want you to be able to disconnect from the thought. Almost like you're taking the thought and you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, is this really my thought? Where did this thought come from? Do I act on this thought? And friends, I really want you to really think about this, because some of these thoughts that go through our minds will lead us down the wrong path. If you all have heard other shows, you know that I have dealt with so many women in my career. And one thing I can tell you is that sometimes in the woman-to-woman relationship, things are taken in and thought about the wrong way. Did they really mean that like that? Okay, so you go from questioning yourself about a thought to acting on the thought without an answer. Acting on the thing. Okay, she did mean it like that. The next time I see her, I'm going to do this. The next time I see her, I'm not going to do this. The next time, and the story goes on and on and on because of the wrong way of thinking. So challenge your thoughts. And realize that in the moment, you can choose another thought. The next way to shift your mindset is to set your intention. Intention is all about planning. So if you know you've been having a very wrong mindset for a very long time, the next time you go to work, the next time you interact with that person, the next time you feel a certain way about your job, plan your intention. I'm going to purposefully have a great day. I'm going to purposefully be kind to my boss. I'm going to really watch my words today, because from the thought comes the word. So really, I'm going to back it up and I'm going to watch my thoughts. Set your intention, friends. Plan to be positive. Don't wake up and let things just happen. Live in a reactive life. Live a proactive life. Plan the intention. The next thing is very important, and it goes back to Charles Darwin. Adapt your mindset. And what I mean by that is adapting our mindsets to situations that we absolutely cannot change. I can remember one of my sisters told me a long time ago. She said, don't worry about people. Everybody has issues. And that's how I get through work, and that's how I'm able to deal with people. And this particular sister has excellent performance at each of her jobs, and she has great people skills. And so she let me know that everyone has issues, so she is able to adapt. So adapt your mindset to what's going on around you, because if you resist it, it's like pulling a seesaw back and forth. It's like pulling tug of war. You're resisting, the thing is happening. You're resisting, the thing is happening. But just decide to adapt your mind and to let go. And I know, friends, some things could be extremely hard to do, especially if you're unhappy. But it is my experience when you adapt your mindset that you start to relieve stress in your life and you actually start to grow as an individual because you realize that not everything has to be your way. You start to adapt to change. My next bit of advice is, you won't believe this, but it is set up for battle, the battlefield of the mind. One of my absolute favorite books is by Joyce Meyer. I think I read this book a little over a decade ago, and I wanted to read you the summary of the book. And this, my friends, if you haven't read this book is so imperative to mindfulness, to self-development and growth. And it stays in my library. It stays in my life as a reference tool. And I want to read this to you. And she says, a war is raging. Your mind is the battlefield. Worry, doubt, confusion, depression, anger, and feelings of condemnation. All these are attacks of the mind. If you suffer from negative thoughts, take heart. Joyce Meyer, friends, she has helped millions of people to overcome the battlefield of the mind through her books. She shares in this book the trials, tragedies, and ultimate victories from her own marriage, family, and ministry that led to a wondrous, life-transforming truth that reveals her thoughts and feelings every step of the way. So she says that we can gain control over our minds, find freedom and peace, recognize damaging thoughts, and stop them from influencing your life. Recognize damaging thoughts. Be patient with yourself, even when you make mistakes. Arm yourself with the Word of God, praise, prayer, and other powerful spiritual weapons. And she closes the summary with, don't surrender to misery another day. You will overcome, and you can overcome the battlefield of your mind. And I think a lot of times we don't talk about the battlefield in the mind enough because it is taboo. And sometimes it's a certain amount of shame to admit, listen, I need to change my thoughts, because we live in a society that we're supposed to have it all together. So friends, if you get a chance, check out The Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Myers. Over 2 million copies have been sold. And like I said, it is in my library, and I absolutely love to go through this book once in a while to check out the different types of mindsets that we get stuck in. So the last tip I have for you is to redirect your mind. Just simply take control, friends. Just grab your mind by the reins like a horse and redirect your mind. Redirect those thoughts. Take hold of them, because just like a wild horse, you don't know where the horse is going, but the horse is wild, and the horse could take you anywhere it wants to go. And that's how the mind is. And friends, if you don't know, I'm the author of Awakening Unleashed. And inside my book, the book is available on Amazon, but inside the book, I have a chapter called The Wild Horse. And friends, I go over everything that your mind can do to take you off your course. And the bigger picture is, if you're always listening to wrong thinking and not shifting your mindset, then you will not ever reach your full potential. You will live a small, unfulfilled, unsatisfying life, because sometimes our mind keeps us in a box. Friends, I can tell you that for a long time, a very long time, I let fear and setbacks and things that had went on in my life in the past really dictate my present moment. And I was there for quite some time until I realized that I had so much power if I would just change the story. And ever since I pivoted and had a mindset shift, I not only changed, but I flourished from the inside out. And that is my goal, to help you do the same, to help you get to those dreams and get to those goals through a mindset shift. And as we go into Martin Luther King weekend, friends, I am so glad that we had a leader like Dr. Martin Luther King, who challenged us to have a mindset shift. to stand up, be heard, be seen, and be treated fairly. Friends, that is the power of a mindset shift in the face of the status quo. Friends, I hope you've enjoyed this show. And over on the website, MomStuffCoffeeShop.com, I have a free resource on mindset shift that you are going to gain more clarity, more focus, and finally have enough courage to stand up and face your dreams because you decided to have a mindset shift. And don't forget to rate, subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts and anywhere this podcast is available. And friends, remember, you can always celebrate wins and get back up again inside the Mom Stuff Coffee Shop. Until next time, I'm KK Smith.